It lives. Preparing, setting up meeting. It says it is done, redirecting. And wonderful. Let me see. This is, there we go. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, we are live. This is Dwayne. Hello. Hello.
How are you?
Hello.
I just can't figure out how your water stays warm that long. Are you sitting in cold water?
No, I mean the water does get cold sometimes. However, I just add some more hot water, and then sometimes it's overly temperatured. So then, like, there's also adapting to those kinds of things in the muscles and tissues. So
yeah,
it ranges of like conditioning in that sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like right now it's very hot. However, it's also melting all of the you could say chemicals or things that I've inserted in the tub. Like I've used different like minerals, different essential oils, like baking soda, certain other like I don't know how to say it, jojoba, that oil.
Okay.
JOBO or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I have great belief that the like immersing of water is like a medicine for the it's so comforting for me.
The triple water creature.
Well, I say triple water.
I thought you were Pisces.
No, sir. Only Pisces sun sign.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, dude. It's so nice to see you. I feel like first, like we have to have an introduction of who you are for those who like have no idea.
I'm a human being sucking air on a rock.
You say you're stuck here on a rock?
A human being sucking air on a rock.
Ah, sucking air. You're breathing here. You're being here. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I used to say that in a negative way, but not anymore.
Ah, you changed your tone.
Yeah. No, it's not negative anymore. But in the end, we're going to be doing is all sitting around the fire anyway. So
what song are you singing now?
Come back.
I said, what song are you singing now? Are you singing? I could make jokes. Are you singing songs about coming back, or what songs are being sang at this time? Because you said that you used to sing that song in a different tone. So like, is there like a new rhythm or a step that took place to get there?
Oh, because it was singing in a place of negativity. Now it's like it's not, because it's just the realization that this is it. Here we are. Now what? What are we gonna do with our lives? That realization. I'm a human sucking air on a rock. And what is a human? That's the real question. Because we are a lot more than what we see. We're a lot more than what we see. So we are a symbiotic organism. There's a lot more of bacteria here than there is human. So what are we? I mean, really, what are we? Seriously, that's a serious question. What are we? Energy being?
I have to make a joke of like a culture of honor. Like we're being like a culture, a bacteria, a form of expression of human inhabitants and what that looks like. And there's different inspirations of what place of the heart, the position that the person is moving from. If it's from a place of integrity and key principles and absolute love and admiration to be devoted to these things, versus like animalistic, incapable of controlling the wanting or the pull or impressed with the call.
I love that. And I often wonder now that that little voice that's in our head. So the voice that's in our head that gives us the answer, right? We know it's like, oh, that's really stupid. We shouldn't do that. Or yes, we should definitely say that or do that. And we deny it. So I wonder if the first voice is actually, all the other life forms that are in us, all the bacteria and the mitochondria. Hello, mitochondria with the different separate DNA that's inside of us, them. Yeah. There's a whole lot more of them than there is of us.
Yeah, that is definitely a pretty deep rabbit hole, and a place that I love to enjoy and think about. However, like, it's difficult at times to like settle the talker in the head, and especially like the constant wanting to know knowledge and constantly wanting to label, identify, judge, and put it into a box and navigate and make choice of attracted to or repulsion.
I love how you said that. We try to put everything in a box. We try and name it. We try and put a story on it.
Yeah, we have to say what it is and what those boxes are. Like, we're not even it. And here we are speaking from a place thinking that we know the other thing that we're looking at. Even it could be a fractal of ourselves or each other or light or whatever it is. And sometimes we're biased, like we're actually looking for something. So we stumble across this kind of information, this particle bit. And then what we do with that, how do we apply the knowledge that we've gained and with wisdom? I'm also noticing just like the obsessive thinking, like constantly seeking to get out of the moment and to go to different places or timelines or imagination, instead of like having the capacity to remain silent and witnessing instead of like constant automatic reaction, monkey mind. Dwayne, did you know that like when you lock your fingers, like you lock neural pathways, and that like when you go to select places where they're doing body measurements and studying, you know, the expression of whatever the so-called illness is that the person's coming in for, asking questions, trying to know, and then like being presented with that information. I'm having a difficulty delivering the total full frame of thought. So I'll just hold space. If it comes back to me, I'll bring it back to you. It has something to do like neural pathways and like re-expressing from habitual places and like locking patterns in, and like also like the left side of the body versus the right, and like the mirror neurons. Like I still don't really know how to formulate the thought into words of what I'm trying to share, but again, if it comes back to me, like I'll go back there. But like I can't unsee it. Like every time I notice myself like going into an automatic posture, I'm like, what's happening neurologically? What breathing patterns are happening? And like trying to be conscious of the experience instead of like shutting down and being like in a state of defense or fight or flight. And again, the judgment or saying I'm in this box, although I could be looking at the same situation and be in a completely different reality. However, I'm telling a story that everything is bad or everything is good, or I'm limited in this lens or filter that I put on. And I'm looking at the situation through that pain or through that past experience, and then unable to see the data of what's in front of me as it is. I'm seeing and then responding to it as the make believe of what they are and who I think they are and what I think they're going to do. And then sometimes those kinds of actions and behaviors creates like a parallel world where that person is like doing that back to me anyway, because that was my expectation. That was what I pushed on them. Oh, you're just going to do this. You're just nothing but this, and this, the storyteller, like that shadow aspect of fear, whatever external force that is that we learn that from, that becomes part of our consciousness. I'm just like, even the process of witnessing, and I have to say thank you, because you are like a prime person in my meditation aspect, because of introducing me to the meditation circle. That really, really, really drastically changed my path. Just sitting in that Zoom circle and being led in that way by Mr. Kennedy, that was just indescribable, of like the peacefulness and how simple it is attainable through just like loving awareness and being mindful, and you know, all those steps that they teach in those classes.
And then I love how you put all of that together, actually. And it's like I miss these conversations, but I think of what you said. So that the simple thing of you said that it was like the meditation was one little key aspect that's changed how you approach things. And it's like, we never know what little piece of information, what little phrase or word you hear just changes everything. And it's like, oh, you actually, then the realization comes from that. And if we're not seeking there's that information, we won't find it. But you know, I've come to the point where it's like I'm okay now, but the last couple of weeks, it was like I just got tired of the seeking and striving and driving and going and learning and expanding and growing and being more than I was. And but that's all there is. It's change. The only constant is change. It's all there is, and it's a hard lesson for me. It's definitely triggering. Definitely triggering.
Yes, activating, igniting, like pushing you to go do something, right? It's like you're up against this because of this past experience, and like you're able to dance with it in a different way that it doesn't have the opposite force or something like that. You had me thinking of a couple other things. However, sometimes it's hard to describe. The only word that I can think of is like supernatural revelation. How you kind of like sometimes things are just like, as they call it in the world of meditation, how they stumble upon it, or they like, it's like a treasure. It's found, and like you realize, like this profound realization, like self-realization of, it's almost like non-attachment, and that's like a whole nother world of like working inside the human experience, is like the non-attachment and not like attempting to do like constantly.
Yes, and not doing, and that is a lesson I've gotten the last couple of weeks, because so I was constantly running from one activity to another, whether it be a class, or a group or a drum circle or whatever. And it's like I came to the realization through, different therapies, you got to find out what works for you and not pigeonhole yourself. I'm going to keep doing this and only do talk therapy for 45 years when there's other things available out there that can make it happen in a weekend. But this is the realization that I was running from loneliness. So I was running out of fear of loneliness. So I was running from one place to another, looking for my partner, and it's like, partner will come, and it's like, just get out of the way, let the universe do its thing, do what you want to do, and if my partner, if she comes along, fine. If she doesn't, okay. But here we are. It's so much nicer. It's nicer if, let me rephrase, so let me paraphrase, let me put a quantification on that. It's nice to have a partner if you're complete in yourself. If you go out there and try and find someone to complete you, or they're going to give you something or make you feel a certain way, it's going to fail. It's going to fail because no one can.
Definition.
Say?
It helps to have the definition of, like, you're saying partner. So what is the definition of partner for you? And like, what exactly are we partners in, and what is the circumstance? And then the allowance of saying that, like, it is already here, and like feeling like that embodiment in the body. Like, what does it feel like to already have that? And then like, what's the picture that's stopping your way? Like, what is the illusion or the image that you're shown that makes you not continue to go on trying or being your authentic self and just expressing from the place of the heart that keeps coming up all the time? Like if you're called to be a ballerina or called to do different activities that represent different parts of the self. Like different roles that you play activate different characters.
Interesting.
Like when you tend to the earth and you take care of the water versus when you are showing up to a yoga class and representing everything that you've ever learned, and like your personal practice, and like practicing your practice and just like living your life, and all the other I want to make jokes of like Patrick's, okay, like different versions of yourself that do different things. And sometimes that character might not talk to the other character who likes to do the completely opposite thing. Like maybe part of you loves to like shine and perform and check boxes, right? But like maybe like subconsciously or deep down, like we like complete liberation from all those things as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So it's like I've been so I don't reach back. I don't go back to heal my childhood. I want to bring that child here and now. This is the culmination of everything we've learned, right? So bring your inner child, bring them into here, right? Bring them into here and now.
And that child is talking now, and it wants to be heard and spoken to, and it has like things that it's trying to discuss with you, and like sometimes we have to like ask it.
Well, and that's why that's what made me think of is what you just said about how part of me wants to perform and share and teach
and role play, right? Like we want to fill the archetype of this. I want to be the perfect husband. I want to be an amazing fitness instructor. I want to be this. I want check. And it's like constant wanting and false appearances, you know, like fear, false evidence appearing real. Kind of like looking at something, but it's just like an image or an illusion, and it only holds as much power over the mind as like we really interact and believe that lie or that secret in our head that we think is right, but it's not like a real belief system, you know?
Yes. Well, and because I lived in such a disassociation my entire life, and a lot of people are living in disassociation, and even they don't realize it. I didn't realize I was living in such disassociation. So when you're at that level of disassociation, it's like, it's not like, oh, I'm healed now, which would be nice if I could say that, but it's not true. It's like, if I was I lived in such disassociation for so long that it's just not something you just step out of instantaneously.
So it's hard to say the word. Is disassociation here now in the room? Are you able to notice its character and its framework and its edges that it expresses itself? Like that?
Not fully, no, not fully. If it was possible to recognize all the edges of that, then we would never be in disassociation, unless you chose to.
Ooh, okay. Well, there's finer edges then of like, why do I not want to touch or look at these edges? Like, what's in the corner? What is the imagined monster in the corner? What's in that space? Am I putting there? Has all power and all place and has no victory for me in my life. Like this thing I'm chasing, this illusion, this gadget, this gizmo. It comes by many names too, like pleasure addiction, hedonism. I feel like there's other stuff there. Maybe addiction, just addiction in general, like chasing or seeking.
Interesting. I love the way you put that, actually. And that's the thing too. It's like chasing the bauble, the next shiny trinket.
It's also like our spirits are incapable though of like not honoring that whisper that's there amongst human consciousness of this alternate side that like we don't really want to side with, and sometimes, you know, shiny lights gives.
Wait a minute, you said the spirit doesn't want to recognize what?
One more time.
You said the spirit doesn't want to recognize? Is that what I heard you?
Sometimes our bodies wants to dissociate and not identify with this thing. And still this thing is constantly here and with me. And I call it me, mine, or like the attachment, the identification.
Yeah. The body, okay. I get that. So, however, some of us have gone through a lot of, you know, physical pain and trauma, which has certainly driven my disassociation, because the brain expects discomfort from the outside, discomfort from intimate relationships, discomfort from, you know, people close to you, physical discomfort. So
yes,
that's been my what drove my disassociation, just expecting physical discomfort. So the brain
Dwayne, the body never forgets.
The body doesn't.
I mean, that could be a lie. It could make jokes about 14 generations, but at the same time, I want to make the other joke that the body never forgets, that it's like locked in the cellular genetic makeup, like it's in the mind, it's in every organ or body part that associates the mind. The mind makes an entire map of what the body is and what parts are where and what's where. Like, And then I'm not even sure. Like, I feel like I'm not like a person who's like really in a place of authority to like navigate spaces. However, I have to navigate the space of life constantly for myself. So I've learned to just like navigate in certain circumstances. And I have absolute resonance with being afraid to take the next step and do something absolutely different, or like, you know, trying to do the same thing you did before and then slipping up and be like, oh man, I didn't think of that. That's never happened. And just the integration process and seeing what sticks. And even then, like attempting to not lock so much on an idol, a worship, an image, a symbol, a logo that represents me, or like, or it's really hard to comprehend. And there's like things that just like naturally call to us, which inspired me of the thought that the spirit like wants God, it wants to be reunited, it wants to be just one, it wants no secrets, no lies, absolutely holiness. We are one. There's no secrets, no exposure, no fear, no illusions, no optical illusions, just complete resonance and harmony. And the cellular organism is truthful with itself instead of creating these forces of nature that are really repulsive to nature, like obsessing about artificial intelligence and computers and worshiping knowledge and learning things and being more powerful, more such and such than this guy, and measuring people, using people as tools, as measuring tools of people and who they are because of this and their karma and who they are with God and what that looks like. Like, I read this picture that has been burned in my mind, and it's probably AI. I want to joke that it's IT, it's information technology. It suggested to me this image about a cat surrounded by fire, and it was talking about our God complex. And like hearing the word together like that was like, oh my God, yeah, I get that. Like trying to be, I am the great expector. I expect this from you, and you have to do this, and I'm this. And like that's not how this place works. You know? like everyone's making music, everyone's heartbeat is beating a certain way, their breath, it sounds a certain way, they smell a certain way, each expression, each cellular organism, combination of all these different things. Plus there's like electromagnetism, right? Like in our consciousness, it's like projecting outward. And then like we have like neurons hitting other cellular networks who have like, you can say similar genetic makeup, or same soul group. I mean, there's many different words for this like kind of aspect.
Well, that's what I was, so that's kind of what keys back into what I was saying earlier. And I was like, what is a human? What does that really mean to be a human? Because it's not just we're not just biological by any means.
I feel like I can't trust my own mind. Like I get mad at every story it tries to say what I am and what you are and what this is, because none of it ever feels really completely settling. Like it feels like it's so much more than any word that's ever been given to me, other than like this idea of peacefulness or peace that surpasses no understanding, like just complete like crickets, or just, I can't even explain it. It's just like a resonance, and my brain cannot let go of the attachment of this existence of this place. And like, I can't even measure how many times I've actually lined up and being in like total presence of like that moment, other than just like a few seconds kind of aspect. And like I can just witness it in my own self, like the addiction to seeking from knowledge and like the self, and just like nonstop thinker or talker in the head. And sometimes this idea of quieting the mind and spending time in silence and like watching it instead of automatically responding to everything it's telling me to do, like, and it can be like wild stories telling you like, you get to work because of this, and this, and you have to do this, and you're invaluable unless you do this, and like all these forces of nature. And it can even be real people that are like, hey, can you do this? Hey, I'm calling you. Hey. And then like there's all this like pressure and like figuring out like what is my true nature, like what is the natural expression of like peace and happiness, that I'm glad to do this, that there's no resistance. Or sometimes it's like my ability to respond, that like all of this has fallen upon me because like this is my Dharma, this is my job I have to do. And like sometimes we run from that work forever, right? Because it's like it's between me and like things that I'm working on, edification of my personality, or the seeming me in my head, right? This nobody that thinks it knows what everything that it's ever known. It's like a composite. Well,
it's interesting. So I wonder, so you mentioned Dharma, and I believe, and for sure, we decide what's important in our lives. You know, we decide what our mission, so to speak, is going to be. So is that the Dharma? Is that our Dharma? So
I mean, I definitely recently noticed this. Like, I met this woman and she owns a company that she calls On Purpose. And she believes that I am doing this for the purpose of this, that we can choose right now. That is our purpose. And she wrote a book called I Just Want Peace. And it's just been amazing. Like, just witnessing, looking at purpose in that way. However, I also resonate with, like, you know, the traumatic experience of constantly trying to be the doer, be the, you know, seeking the fruits of my actions, doing something just to get the desired outcome, thinking that it'll achieve some kind of bliss or samadhi in this place. And seeking pleasure in the external world sometimes just feels like an endless.
Can I go in with that? Seeking?
Yeah.
So what are we really,
like, constantly looking for it, like constant hunting and then like judging and putting this in this kit in this box, and then I'm learning about this subject, I'm doing this, and it's like, just let it go. Just let it go. Just like be here now. Witness what is. Breathe in the moment. Stop telling stories. Stop seeking to make stories. And like, just learning to just like appreciate. And like, there's like a big calling for me to like give back to the planet. And I mean like the actual planet, not like the people of the planet almost, you know, like tending to the dirt and like tending to the genetic makeup, like all the modifications that have been happening with like man-made bacteria and inventing what is that? It's like bio ingredients in food, and just I feel like they're messing up the whole thing. Like
there's no going back from that.
That's not good. Atrazine, I am not happy with certain things that I am seeing, learning, and I don't know. I see that we can do like clean up oil in the ocean. So it's like, whoa, can we just all come together? Like, what are we doing? And can we at least like understand? Like it's like it's like biological warfare, like bio warfare. It's like you're messing with all.
Well, we're making warfare against the planet. We're making warfare against our spaceship. We're making warfare against the biosphere of the spaceship we're traveling on, and that can only lead to one thing, and that's destruction of ourselves.
It's so hilarious to hear you call the Earth our spaceship. That's just like
it is. It is.
I mean, it is really funny to think about the world this way, and you're inspirational and so like in synchronicity. I've just recorded a talking of something, and I touch in on light, and I had some of these thoughts, and like you're totally tapping into like how those things are like all formed together, and like I can't deny that calling, just constantly loving the handiwork and just looking at like how fascinating this all is. And
so keying into that, what friends of mine have been talking about lately is community. So when you say giving back to the earth, and to me, giving back to the earth would be to not
but
be
also give back to the community. I get so mad. I'm like, we need to be planting trees. We're building steel. We're building concrete. We're putting all this stuff. We're creating all these gases and smokes. We can't see the stars. Like, what are we even doing? And like, I just get like furious. And like someone who hasn't had that experience of being just out in the middle of nowhere in nature, like, and like hearing different animals that are just existing. And like now we live in places where it's almost like the wildlife is dependent on us, like giving back to it, because we've taken so much from the land. And like, and I'm just like, so like, I can't help but be like frustrated and empathetic, and just like this is something does not feel right. It feels like our priorities are whack, like super whack. And
our priorities are whack.
I don't like it. I don't like it. And like, I feel like people have the power to put their attention on things like this, and to actually like do something in their local areas, you know, like this can even be.
Well, that's why I was keying into the community, and it's like, I see community, and it's like, I just think.
Sir, name it. You see community in what? I could be like, I'm seeking a community who wants to collect trash with me right now. We're going to collect trash, and we're going to collect trash for the next 7 days. Anything. We see cigarette butts, we're going to ask people, hey, think about this. These things were made on Earth. They have certain chemicals.
No, I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about
be nice, and just like at least just put it in the right place. Recycle or plant trees. We have land. We have to plant trees. So like, you see what I'm playing with you? Like, what is the community and the specific things? Like, Do you want people who will do ballet with you? Do you want people who want to travel to a particular location, or like, what is the community for the specific intention? Like, is it 3 days from now you want to meet someone at the bookstore and then, you know, talk philosophy, or like, or you want to host a meditation? Like imagine
everything I see. You're expanding into everything as a community. You're expanding into everything as a community. And I was thinking more of like an intentional community where we actually live together, quote unquote, with your own spaces together in, like, you know, a 10-acre plot or a 20-acre plot or 100,000 acres. But we're doing, for me, and it's like you're doing so much running around. It's like I have to go here to get food. I have to go here to see the friends.
Okay, so like, is your dream to have a piece of land? You want to have like 1 million acres? Would that light you up? Would that be like, oh my God, is that what you're like?
Actually,
you want to be a nomad?
Actually, no. Actually, I would much rather be more urban and with an intentional community. That's kind of what I would prefer.
Almost like an ashram type thing, like where everyone's like living together. This person grows the food. This person does the dishes. This person, kind of like that.
Yeah. I mean, I hate to kind of throw
like a small
labels.
community of people living intentionally.
Intentionally community, right? So it could be a commune in Ashram or whatever you want to call it, but
yeah, like spiritual principles. Like spiritual principles that you follow, like you're really into like meditation and breath work and movement, and like so you can find like a community where everybody does those things, and just like it's like a habit, and because it's like our nature, like everyone adapts to that kind of living every day or something like that.
I don't know about that. Wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. No, I just think.
And then you can like add more things, like everyone in the community has to love the plants, and they have to bring fresh flowers, or like.
Oh wow!
This person has to pray. You have to pray 3 times a day.
No, if you put a bunch of half-twos on Dwayne, you put a bunch of half-twos on Dwayne, he's probably not going to show up.
I have to turn this off so I can hear you better. I'm just trying to build some more. Okay.
Heard you warm it up?
A little bit. I mean,
we're gonna have to get you a tea kettle next to the tub, and then you can pour like just.
Oh my God! Yeah, I know. All the majority of things that can be done, or like a big boiling pot that's just right.
Just ladle it in.
Yeah, I always loved the Victorian era and like things like that, like how people bathed differently in ancient times. It's pretty interesting.
Speaking of
like how it was different, like bathhouses.
Yeah,
it wasn't so comfortable back then. It
wasn't. Well, has the human life been ever comfortable? Has any storyteller and pen pal ever said,
hey, this whole experience is pretty comfortable. I'm gliding through the galaxy on this rock that's spinning 1,065 miles per hour, and I'm feeling comfortable. Here I am. You know,
it's interesting. That's beautiful how you put that, because no, I've never heard that. I mean, you know, brief moments of gaiety and joy and love.
Yeah, I feel almost like guilty, because again, my sense of ego is just attempting to just constantly create silence in my own mind, so it makes up these stories to try to just quiet the inner dialogue. However, it keeps inventing more questions, more it's almost like instant gratification, and it feels like it feels like it's almost like seeking data, or seeking like it's like seeking, like so bad. I have no other word for it. It's like I'm looking for something at all times, and like I may not even know exactly what it is. It's just like a particular scent, and like I'm on it. I'm trying to find and solve this, like this calls. And like I haven't smelled it yet, but I know it's here. like
well, that's the instant gratification thing, and constantly striving.
It's also the belief. I'm mad at my own belief. Like if I can stop believing that, then like I will relax, and I will not be telling stories of hunting and seeking, and I have to learn this, and I have to go here, and I have to do this performance in order to get this outcome, and da 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 da. Like
this is, I think that,
but it's like so in me.
Great place. This is a great place to talk about. So you're talking about how the human mind is constantly seeking, and I think that's natural. And The human mind was not designed to keep us happy. The human mind was designed to keep us alive in very adverse conditions.
And so man kind of got obsessed with his own creation. So like we're always focused on this, and like we forget like all the background noise of just like, you know, animals getting along and just like coexisting amongst everything. Like,
yeah, no, I think the hunter-gatherer in us is like take over, conquer brain. That's the brain we have. Find, seek, take over, conquer. That's the brain. If you're stuck in the brain, and that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. So we're all, you know, the whole society.
that I have a similar thought to that sometimes, that I imagine like cells in my body like tearing apart and becoming like two, and then like tearing again, and just like how there's this constant like regeneration and re-expression.
Yeah.
That kind
As
of
we
blows my mind a little bit. Or like when we think about our skin being an organ that like absorbs things and like also puts out.
Puts out too. So it's the energy. You're putting out energy too. It's not, you're just not taking in energy. You're also part of the matrix, or so to speak, or the,
Yes.
the total. You're part of the total. So what you're putting out, someone else is picking up. And I don't know, they say that this Nikola Tesla, he said the human brain is just a receiver. He said, we're just receivers. So it makes sense to me, because the human, it's been, you know, we obviously know we are the three-part selves, the body, mind, spirit. The spirit is less, and the mind functions on electricity. And electricity makes an electromagnetic field. What's it say? Thank you, great spirit. Yeah, thank you, great spirit.
Dude, like you're so inspiring to talk to, because sometimes like I forget about like certain aspects, and sometimes it's like difficult to even like bring up these conversations. Like a lot of people just like, no, don't go there, and like it almost like hurts the brain, or hurts to think about like that stuff.
Well, we're trying to put an English, we're trying to describe the undescribable with the English language. Of course your brain's going to hurt if you're not used to it, or if you don't find it fun. I find it fun.
Dude,
because it's the unknowable.
Yo, I can't hear any person go without like thinking of you. Yeah,
hey,
I
got that.
Coined that term in my brain. I'm like, hey, stop being Dwayne. What are you doing over there?
Well, no, because a good friend of mine gave it to me. So
cool. Isn't that cool how we adopt those things from other people?
Yeah.
That's just fascinating. And the fact that we're not even conscious of it, of how we're like adapting and reformulating, and just like, for me, it's gassing. And also, I absolutely love Nikola Tesla. Like, absolutely love.
Everything we have, the phone that we're phones and the video that we're using, and the lights that are on in your house, it's all because of Nikola Tesla. It's all because of Tesla. All of it.
Yeah.
All of it.
Bro.
But he died penniless and alone.
Did he though? Like maybe he was beyond rich. Like he crossed over.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Maybe.
So the external world, like it looks this way, but in another alternate reality where our brain isn't wired to worship something man invented, like this paper.
Oh, I see what you're. Yeah, good point. He spent his
all
time.
make believe this, right? Like
he invested in something else. Yeah, besides the material world. Yeah. Okay. All right.
So have you gotten into? Are you familiar with Ramachandran and the rubber arm?
No.
Okay, so they do this experiment. So there's this neuroscientist, his name's Ramachandran, and he like talks about how our brains make a map of what our body is and like where the parts are. And then like they did, there's a thing called phantom limb. Like let's say I lost this, and then my brain thinks that it's still there, and it says that my hand hurts and things like this. And then like he invented this idea of like, and I could be false, feel free to like do homework. But I'm pretty sure he invented the mirror box, which like shows a mirror of the opposite side, so your brain feels relief because it sees.
I've seen it. Yep.
It's like a left hemisphere, right hemisphere, like synopsis or some type of amazing thing happening.
I've seen it.
Opportunity on how brains are formed. Anyway, like the rubber arm experience, dude, they like let's say I take a paintbrush and I touch your arm.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I don't know how the trick works, okay? I just know that eventually you figure out or feel like that like your arm's being touched and that your arm is the rubber arm. And then like sometimes for shock value or trauma creating, they shatter or break the arm, or they like do something drastic to the arm, the fake plastic arm, and the person has a reaction like as if they think it's.
I've seen it. Yeah, that's all of that. So it's like, and all of that was all made up in the person's mind. All of it.
Yeah, and then like our body responded to it, really believing the stimulus and then feeling like we can't trust our senses. However, like every person is like guilty of believing the first thing that their brain says to them. Dude, did you ever read Thinking Fast and Slow, or did you ever listen to that audiobook?
No, I didn't.
Oh man, it's a pretty nifty book on like how the brain works and like what it's doing, and just like it was also like it made me think of like behavioral scientists and like people who are like focused on like desired outcomes of behavior, like working with behavioral information and like statistics and things like this. Like there's one thing that they did, I don't know if you've seen this social experiment, it's a pretty popular one. Like let's say somebody has a bunch of stuff on the ground and they're at the beach, and then like someone else comes and takes the stuff, or like it's more likely that if something negative is happening to the person, that people will interfere if another person is already saying like, hey man, you know, like even if they see, and it's almost like social mimicking or yeah.
Herd mentality, mirror neurons. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like
until one person does it, or the 100th monkey. So we've heard of the 100th monkey, and that's the 100th monkey. It was like, so the monkey was washing his food, and then so the story goes that there's separate islands of separate monkeys, and one monkey started washing his food, and then another and another and another on this one island, until 100 monkeys started washing their food before they ate it. And then simultaneously, a monkey on a separate island, completely independent of them, started washing their food. So that just shows the connection over space. And it's so, do you know that math doesn't work at 10, I mean, at certain, according to our own physicists, math doesn't work at 10 to the negative 24. Math stops working.
So I wonder what that means by their definition.
Well, because the definition would be that's where matter stops.
Dude, so, I feel like you know that off the top of your head. It's like 10 to the 24th power.
10 to the negative 24th.
Yes. Oh, negative.
Math stopped working. Math stopped working. So, and even the physicists admit it. And we think we know what's going on here, when there's so much more that we can't explain.
Yeah, like our brain is only capable of processing X amount of information.
Mm-hmm. The very small band, coming back to the electromagnetism you were talking about earlier, on the electromagnetic spectrum, we can only see a microscopic port, you know, when I say see, we can only experience.
I wonder like the connection of us actually needing the ground, like needing the earth to like kind of like balance our you know, our vibration, our oscillatory being, that like how it has coherence, like in the equal and opposite reaction aspect, like because how
I've been wondering that same thing.
Say again?
I've been wondering that same thing.
Oh man, I just had the thought, so maybe that's why I'm picking it up.
I've been wondering the same thing. So it's not just the grounding on the earth, but it's also, it keys right back into what we were talking about the, you know, how much of us are human. And
and all the microbiome, bacteria. Yeah, I know. I hear you on that. And you're not wrong.
Well, it's not just bacteria. So, and I've heard you say the bacteria a couple of times, but it's not just the bacteria. So we say we like to say it's microbiome because it's bacteria, it's protozoa, and it's viruses. So there's much more than just bacteria.
I would have to like study each of those words to even like grasp what you're saying, dude.
Okay.
Be like a dictionary or write them down. Oh man, I have an option actually. One thing.
Well, I think
What was the name of the thing? Start with a P.
protozoa.
You know how to spell protozoa?
PROTO protozoa. No, I'm like protozoa and virus.
What do you think that protozoa is?
You know what?
Stinks. I said, what do you think protozoa is?
I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head.
Oh my God, but you knew the three names.
Protozoa, bacteria, protozoa, and viruses. Yes.
And what was the second one? I'm sorry, dude.
Viruses and bacteria.
Viruses and bacteria.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm giving up on these. These are not good plants. So once again, I have to be done. Okay, so my question is, I definitely wanted to bring up the boy crisis, dude.
Okay, let's do it.
My favorite thing I have to say so far is just like, or maybe not favorite, just thing that I have to say like to you, which I've said like a couple times, but I have to say like super thank you for like passing that book to me. Oh my God. Like imagine like being a person who's had the experience with just like, you could say immature male specimens who don't know how to handle female specimens or how to coexist, okay, or things like this, and then like reading it, like really taking in the information of like, wait a minute, this is what's been going on for generations, and this is like the kind of mind washing that's happening and self-worth programming done into our people. And no wonder why they're reacting like this, because they're being programmed to think that they're a machine that runs X, Y, and Z. However, they are not expressions of that at all. And it's not their purpose. They're not meant to just be in the make-believe making money constantly. That's not their self-worth and identity or even true calling of their actual nature. And it's like performance-based. It's like it's a challenging one to exist with for sure. However, just like, go ahead.
Oh, and I'd like to, so I had a realization recently actually that not just the boys are in crisis, but the boys are in crisis. They're also the men are in transition. So up until.
Does this mean like rites of passage? Is that what you mean?
No, I don't. That's a whole nother subject.
What do you mean they're in transition? Then like they're getting older each second, or like?
No, because our role as men has completely changed. So 50, 80 years ago, our role was the breadwinner. Bring home the bacon. Even the caveman, bring home the bacon. That's the programming
though, dude. That's like the make-believe programming of like, this is what the man is here to do. And if you look at like older ways of living, no, we dig in the dirt and we eat bugs and we pass our bugs to our friends. And like,
yeah, we do. However, when the lion and the tiger and the bear show up, the men stand up and they sacrifice themselves so that the women and the children can carry on. So, and that also keys into boys and men's lack of self-worth.
This got really out of hand. Like, I can't help but get really upset. Like, how many critters has mankind completely killed, and for like no absolute good reason? And like,
yeah, that's a different.
This is a big war.
It's a different subject.
Oh my God, I can't not feel it in my bones. I just like ache for this story. It's just like, how could you?
Well, as we speak, I mean, I'm in a 3-bedroom house by myself with the lights on and the air conditioning and the,
But that's
Talk
also
about
we've been conditioned. Like we've been taught that like each of us is supposed to live in this way instead of being taught of what you want the most, right? Where like there's like 10 people living in your house and you're cooking and you're cleaning and you're living together.
Yeah.
And each person helps out. This person helps with the cleaning. This person encourages people to get out of the house, or this person watches this. You learn this from this person. We pass this on to this person. And like
well, but it's also because of my childhood trauma of having an amputation performed on me when I was moments. So picture, if you will, a creature born onto this world with no language and no understanding, and moments later, this creature is strapped down and in full consciousness with no painkillers, has an amputation performed on them in the most sensitive area. So talk about lack of trust and abandonment and
for like
fear of
stories.
Huh?
And like for me, it's like make believe stories, like because we believe that it's important to do this thing to a baby when it's born, the boy specimen, that you know, that has to be done. That's like a belief system, right? That's like, oh, we believe this. And then like we are able to witness like the shadow aspect of that, which of course isn't a subject that's very talked about at like the dinner table, and like unaware of when they're about to give birth or have a share of taking care of a male specimen. So
it destroyed my life. It destroyed my trust. It destroyed my relationships. It destroyed my connection.
So you believe that it was a pre-verbal impacting abuse done to the body when they committed that surgery on you as an infant, which led to you not trusting the mother, not trusting the world, doctors?
Yes, yeah, exactly. Right. That was my first, not only my first experience with doctors, but my first sexual experience was torture of the sexual organ.
Private parts, yes.
Yeah. And then subsequently sent home, and who's the only caregiver changing the bandages on this tiny genitally mutilated penis, but a woman. So what kind of programming does that instill? Is fear of women. They're going to hurt me, and you know, it's carried with me my whole life. And now that I've realized it, it's like, oh, now what? Okay, now what do we do? You know, okay, well, it's okay, here we are. You know, and it's like for me, and it's like there's nothing. I can't go back. There's no getting the life that was taken from me back. It's gone. But if I can save one little boy from the life of trauma and fear, because I've had PTSD. I've come to the realization I've had PTSD since I was a day old, because I live in fear. Fear is like a constant in my life, and it's like now that I realize it's there, it's much subsided, and now that I've let it go and let the thinking go and just be in the now, it's certainly much diminished. But maybe that's why, you know, and it's like I haven't figured out why it's good for me yet, but that's it. Maybe it's forced me to be a guru. It's forced me to seek the spiritual life. Maybe I don't. Maybe I don't know.
I was going to ask you, how does it show up for you in your everyday life, like this experience that happened before you could speak? And the other question I had was, like, have you done any research or looked into like it's challenging to like get the question. If it comes back, I'll answer it again. So I guess I'll leave you with that first question of like how's it showing up now?
How it impacted my life. So for me, and it's like when I look back at it and realize that no, I've never had a relationship last longer than 2 months in my life.
Dude, I apologize to interrupt, but I want to give the question before I forget it again. It's that like man, it keeps coming and going, but it's basically like it's always so hard to like form thoughts and like pass them to another person. It has to do with when you're being a baby and impact of trauma. Oh, like, have you read up on things where people are like, God, it's so hard to ask the question directly. Like people who have already experienced or spoken about traumas that happened to them in the womb, like where the cord was around their neck, or like traumatic rebirth things. Like there are people who have like their skull crushed, or there's different experiences that have happened that have been negative, or maybe the parent was consuming products and it wasn't good for the baby and for both participants, and like forms of expression that are taking place.
I have not researched the rebirth, but I've talked about it. I wouldn't know how to do that.
Yeah, it was like really hard to even put into a question. I was like, how do you ask this question? I've like heard stories and testimonies about people who have spoken from that place. I don't really know what it's called or how I'd like backtrace the information and research it.
Well, I just heard a friend of a friend said they did a Vipassana 10-day silent meditation, and that they actually went back and re-experienced in the real time, in today and now, re-experienced the mutilation, the circumcision.
I believe that, because once your brain starts to relax, it starts to access things that you blacked out. Those neural pathways aren't talking, but when you are finally letting space for, hey, what's here now, that information is still here now in the body trying to talk to you, and keeps coming up everywhere you go. There it is. So it needs to be listened to and given proper attention and reflected upon, instead of outcasted and injured and seen as the enemy. It has to be heard what its story is before it'll go away. It's just going to keep changing its many masks and flavors, and
Well, you know what? I was thinking I need to find a crying retreat and go cry for a weekend. There's a cry in me that needs to get out, and it's like it hasn't come out yet. It's in there.
I believe in what you're saying so much, Dwayne. I saw this video, like they have these particular like I want to call them like bro-ships, like these groups of men who like get together, and like I've seen certain companies do it. I could send you a few like accounts that I've seen online that are expressing that ways. And I'm sure like if you really like line up to have like a whole retreat of like all men and do that, like there are like almost like rituals or exercise that you do to get into that type of breath work, and have like those it's almost like a container, right? Because you have like 10 different people, and the 10 people in the room creates a whole different atmosphere than if that one person wasn't in the room, and they see things a little bit differently. And sometimes it's good for us, it's medicine for us to hear the flip side, because we've been stuck on the other tapes and thinking and cellular memories reacting this way to strangers and things like this and who we think they are. And like it feels like all that stuff can be broken by just like reteaching the body a positive experience that reminds it of its true atmosphere, instead of like reliving tapes and replaying the trauma in the cellular tissues. Like it has to like re-express itself and have like a good last final expression almost. And so maybe you tap into like, what does your final expression of this look like? Like, is this, it's like, this is like your whole life purpose now. Like now that you've had this breakthrough, this, like, it feels like you want to like educate everyone, and you're talking about it, and like, you're just not afraid to talk about any private part of it, dude. And like, that really, really lights me up and touches me, because that's something that is very challenging to do, to be courageous and to stand in my firm, limited opinion. You know what I mean? Like I'm saying limited, meaning like the only you have to believe this part, like this is the part that I'm fighting for, like the other way just feels wrong to me. And like sometimes it's difficult for people to commit and go on one side and say this is how I really feel, or just to be honest with themselves that they agree or that they feel that way and things like that. It's definitely a very, very it's a touchy subject, you know, of like what we're going to do with our children, and who has the right, and who knows what's properly being done. The same thing could be said about the umbilical cords and all of the information that we know on that. And it doesn't
saving her, she's saving her child's umbilical cord. Yeah, they were talking about. She's having it stored, or part of it. So for future stem cells. It's interesting you say how that, you know, how touchy of a subject is, and how people, it's hard to get people to lean one way. And for me, it's like, it's just a human rights issue for me at this point. It's like, I'm not mad about it. I see other people mad about it, and it's like, that's not getting the message across to the people that need to hear it, you know, out of anger.
Well, you can speak from the place that says, like, this is how it hurt me, this is how it showed up, and why this doesn't feel right. And like, it seems like it would help to know like the counter arguments, you know, like I'm pretty sure the counter argument of why they do the surgery is that it creates cleanliness, or that's like the story that is done amongst
one of them.
you know, so.
One of them. Women have folds. Women have a lot of folds. They seem to be able to keep themselves clean. Men can keep themselves clean.
Yeah, it's like, imagine saying that about the woman, like part of it just doesn't make sense. Like, I mean, maybe only people who have their own baby like would, and if they had to do the surgery themselves and chop off a piece or something, you know, like I feel like it would like be a drastic different framework, you know what I mean? Like,
yep.
That's your thing, you're gonna do this, and you're really like, does this feel right? Like,
well, that's the abandonment.
Outside, I mean,
that's the abandonment that I feel was, it's like at the most vulnerable time when I should have been connecting and nursing with my mother, I was taken away to another room without my mom or my dad there and had an amputation. So there's where the abandonment came in, and it lingered. And fear, you know, it's like the child's innocence lost. It's like this world is not safe.
Does that create
dangerous? Create what?
Doesn't that create longing, like from not getting the nurturing and then having like an obsessed nature where I'm automatically thinking about like, well, what could that love flavor have been, and then kind of like having those daydreams and then longing for the imagination of what I've created.
I think that's exactly what I've been doing.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what I've been doing by running from one activity to another. It's like I was trying to fill that abandonment.
Hey, dude, if you know that that's true, and you know that all you need is a vipassana, like all you need to do is just be silent for a few days, have no cell phone and journal, like you could totally prescribe that for yourself and do that at home, like instantly. And like you would be able to maybe get a journal, maybe notice like, hey, I really want to turn my phone on. The story is this. Oh man, I really want to leave the house and not sit because of this. I really just want to write. And then maybe something else comes up on the paper that you're like, oh man, that's the repeating thought or something like that. Yeah. Like it feels like you can do it yourself. But like it's all fun. Go ahead.
It'd be hard to do at home because there's so many. It's I got to do the laundry. I got to make something to eat. Let me clean this. Let me sweep the floor. I got to fix my car.
No, do nothing. Do nothing. Have to sit and like create a boundary of what that is from this time to this time. And then I'm allowed to get up. If I have to go to the bathroom, then obviously incorporate that, or just don't even pay attention and map that. Or maybe you could, if that's important, to notice like your system and the way it's functioning and stuff, but mapping it visually so that way you can be like really with it. But like it feels like what you know is like you are maybe called to just be outside in nature and just no cell phone, no people, and just do no laundry and do no things and just think or relax or
I definitely need to do more meditation. And it's like I hear you say that you have changed you and helped you, and it's like that's something I've kind of been avoiding. So.
Oh wow! Isn't that powerful? One of my meditation teachers not meditating. How ironic. But like,
I haven't today.
Dude, I'm sorry, but I have to also advocate for the part that doesn't want to do that right now. Like maybe figuring out like, why do you want to not meditate? Like, what are you called to do instead? Is there something you haven't done, like a performance that's really urging you? Or maybe it is the running thing.
No, it's not that. It's just anytime I try to meditate, it's just so my brain's just going everywhere. It's just distracting. And it's like, why am I doing this? I can't meditate. I'm wasting my time. That.
What if we could just let it be like that? It's like, okay, that's what this is. Okay, here it is. It's going on. It's starting. Oh, it quiet down. Oh, wait, something else came here. Oh.
Yeah, and I've done that. I've done it. Yeah, I've done it. Let it run. Then it run, and then let the brain run, and then it comes back. It's like, oh, and then it's calm for a second. And it's like the times that I really, it's not no thought isn't really the object, but the times of no thought is so calming. It's
Yeah,
like,
but
this
notice
is-
that it comes like naturally. Like it's not really
Yeah.
from forcing and pushing. It's just like, oh wow, oh my God, I'm here. I was there. Did you just see that? I was there. Like,
yeah, it feels so good.
someone, I have a teacher who taught me that the thoughts will eventually begin to pay attention to themselves, and then they'll just be quiet because they're like, oh my God, I'm being watched. And like, it's almost like engaging with dialogue with that dialogue and learning to like have the relationship with the total self.
Mm.
Did you get into internal family systems, IFS?
Not very much. Actually, what I've been looking at lately is the
Bro, like imagine Dwayne has a part that's lonely, but then Dwayne has another part who wants everyone to go away as far as possible, and I don't want to hear you, I don't want to see you, I don't want to know you exist.
I have those
There's
parts.
another one that's like, I want to touch you, I want to smell you, I want to have fun, I want to go places. Okay,
I
right?
have those parts.
You have both of those coexisting, so there's like a resistance within your own field, like you're longing, wanting this. So these two characters aren't really talking to each other, right? You're just automatically shutting down and believing and stopping where the other one is telling you, no, don't go there, instead of like really building a communion of like a together of meeting these two parts where it's like, okay, well, why don't you want me to go ahead? And like letting that part speak for a little bit of like, hey man, this, and really getting to like the root, you know, like the bottom of the vine, and pulling it out by the root, and then like figuring out if we choose to replant that or what it looks like next. And it's not by our own works, it's not performance based either. It's just having the space of the witness and not being upset and judgmental that I can't sit still. It's just almost like a laughter, like, oh, that's so cute, I can't sit still, I can't stop talking in my head. Yeah, and just like letting it be what it is. Be like, okay, I love how this is like this, okay. And then maybe you might choose or think that you want to be one way, and still here you are always naturally this way, which again is meant to be looked at as cute and unique in its own way and totally lovable, while others might not relate. And that's a little confusing for them because they're like, I've never seen that expression or shape before. That's very confusing for me. And like, and then they start to wonder their own shape or want to change their shape in different illusions of, you know, what the self is as well. I have also an inspired question of like, where do you choose to go next? You know, like, so are you saying like, is it also your goal to have a son and then to like make sure that they're sacred and safe? Like, what's the true heart yearning, like more than anything? Are you just like, you want to start your own company and educate people on like, hey, well, we're funded.
If I could do anything my heart yearned for right now, it is I would have some kind of big enough space where I could adopt several kids and just be a dad, seriously. And it's like, you know, focus on that.
I want to tease and be like, how many, name it, be specific. What's the reality? How many?
10.
10?
10.
You mean that with all your heart? You would bring them 10 kids into your house right now?
10.
And like,
if I had a partner, I'm not going to do it by myself, and I'm not going to do it.
Committed to 10.
Well, I'm not going to do it if I also can't afford to teach them the things that school doesn't teach them. I'm not going to do it if I can't afford to do all those things, because there's so much the school doesn't teach. You know,
what a richness that is.
How does the brain work? How do you properly put nutrition in the body? How do you?
Yes, imagine being taught that, like having that talk with mom and dad and be like, hey, I know I give this to you as a reward if you're not bad, but this really isn't good for your body. Like, sugar snacks as a reward. Yeah, I know this is marketed to you, and for kids your age, just know that this is bad for cellular regeneration and living a long life because of this.
That's the thing.
I want you to live a long life, so I don't want to give you this.
No, well, that's the thing too. And if I had children, it's like, I'm sorry, some of the rules in the house would be, there's no food coloring in this house. There's no artificial sweeteners in this house. There's no artificial flavorings in this house. Because
in the tub or in the cup?
What?
No artificial flavors in the tub? Like you mean like in their
In the house. No, in the house at all.
Oh, in the house, like you don't even allow that, okay. Yeah, because if it's in the house, then you're gonna be tempted by it, right?
Exactly. And the human body was never designed to intake or deal with these industrial age chemicals that have been invented by man. These weird food colorings, what are they? I mean, seriously, it's nothing natural about them. What are they? And that people are putting into their bodies, and it's affecting DNA.
I feel like we're not even allowed to know. Like I picked up this organic orange juice, and it said it had like this patented bacteria. So I'm like researching, like, what is this? Bacillus, this particular corporation, 1969, and like all these things. And I was like, huh. And like, of course, it wasn't very easy to gather any much data on what it is. So my brain organism can only imagine what's happening. And like what I've witnessed is like, let's say you have a sickness, right? Like, let's say I have a staph infection, and then my body is going to crave the bacteria that feeds the infection, right? So it's going to want like dairy or like certain sugar, because then it makes the bacteria stronger and like it spreads. So it's the same thing with like candida or other gut bacteria. So once we infest our body with the bioactive ingredients, I'm going to continuously to crave every single product that uses this same Sonomics or stem cell line or K293, whatever is used.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing as reaching for the yummy berry on the tree. Your microbiome goes, oh, that was good. Remember where that was.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah, and it's the same thing. So it's the same thing with modern foods. You know, you take this modern food and it's like, quote unquote, tastes good. You're going to go find it again. And it's, I don't know. I quit eating for taste long ago. So,
well, I really love, I love what you're saying about not eating for taste, and also like how our bodies remember and map the territory, like where we gathered this food or that food, and like jots memories in this way. And then like what it made me think of is like when I was a kid, I couldn't help but notice how like BIT teams, like behavioral insight teams, how they would like map colors with food. Like for example, like a lot of corporations use like the red and yellow together, which causes a feeling of being hungry. And like there's like this like hypnotic suggestions or like marketing and things like this. And like our brain associates certain images and things with certain like cellular reactions, right? Like almost like a sugar rush or things like that. Same thing can be done with all forms of addiction, of being able to go to the bar and order this food or drink or etc. Like that aspect. And then of course the habits, and then it starts to crave itself, and like we become adjusted or we associate this feeling with eating or drinking or being in this one place, and there becomes an attachment.
And then we associate ourselves with it.
Yes,
so
like
right.
This is my place. Like this is my land. This is my restaurant. This is my home. I have this story. This is my identity. If I do something different, it's not me. Yep. Make believe.
And it's none of it's you. None of it's you. So I don't have all the answers. I'm still looking. I know that I've been wanting to get mala beads. I got mala beads recently, and
Did you japa?
Huh?
Are you gonna do japa?
I don't know what japa is. So here's
japa, J-A-P-A, japa.
Yeah.
It's what you do with the mala beads. One mala is 108. So each bead, you chant the name of God. And like people do different things, different mantras. And
yeah, I'm not doing that. So I've been listening to Abraham Hicks for a while now.
Okay.
And I've been listening to a lot of other people and what they're saying. And what they're saying is, what is the feeling that you have right now? I mean, right now. What feeling do you have? Are you satisfied with where you are right now? Are you striving? Do you want something else? Why do you want something else? And why would you want that feeling of wanting something else when really the only place we can ever have an experience is right now? So I'm actually, my mala is remembering the feeling that I want to have right now. And that feeling I want to have right now is satisfaction and joy. And
Okay, dude, those could be the thing that you go around 8 times with the bead. Enjoy. Peace. Om, om, shanti, 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 shanti.
No, but it's not, I'm not so much saying the word as experiencing that feeling in the moment.
Yeah. Dude,
That
when you're
feeling.
talking, it also made me think of how she talks about how sometimes we're going upstream, we're swimming upstream, we're trying to go against the current instead of like just everything go with a flow downstream, that it's like automatic instead of striving, like you were saying. I really like the word striving instead of seeking, but they are a little slightly different, so.
Yeah. But I think it's also important too that, I mean, we are creators, okay? Someone created that tub you're in.
Right.
Someone created these phones. So we
Yeah.
are the creators. And I think it's our obligation. You talked about how we're poisoning the planet. Well, we are the epitome of.
Keep talking, I'm sorry, you get me excited.
We are the epitome of 4.5 billion years of evolution on this planet.
Yes.
I feel obligated to be the best me I can be because of all the gifts we have that make our lives quote unquote easy. You know why Galileo was able to? Because he had time, he was rich. You know why? Charles Darwin made the discoveries he did because he was rich and he had time to make these discoveries. We are rich. We have time on our hands. I work 40 hours a week, and after that, I play.
You're saying you have time in your hands?
I have time to learn, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I have time to learn. I have an amazing resource right in front of me that is, quote unquote, all the information in the world is available to me. Not really, but what is centered is available. We are living in an amazing time, and YouTube are, the videos and all motivational speaking, and it's been such a resource for me that I would never be where I am right now if it wasn't. I am not the man I was 5 years ago.
Right.
At all. And that's a large portion of what was available. I would not be where I am now if I didn't have the resource of others and others speaking at my fingertips 24/7.
Oh man, I mean, but that can be also like not good too for me, because like I won't spend as much time in nature, and I feel like sometimes things need to be the way they were. Like, for example, my brain associates you with being someone that I would go and ride a bicycle with. And now that like that habit and that routine on that particular trail is like not in my life anymore, right? But my body like remembers that and misses like those motor skills and living in those ways. And like I definitely like feel called sometimes. And like my brain remembers like particular experiences, like riding horses. Like I have a lot of really positive experiences with that. And sometimes I feel called to that. And just like during the initiative, we're figuring out like, okay, what's the right time, the place, and when does all this line up? And like, what do I have to do to make those happen? And like the beauty in that too is like I didn't really I felt like I wasn't a real big active part in those times where I was blessed with the opportunity to like run while on a horse, like running together and like being in that motion. And like so like to recreate that and that kind of bond and that spiritual connection that happens, like can't even like make that up. And my brain just remembers so fondly that being such a positive experience. And like the fact that it was a real experience, it's kind of what made it even better, right? Like it wasn't like a simulation or a virtual reality. It was just an accident that happened from the experience of like booking a rental horse in another location on the world. And then like building like almost like a psychic connection of nonverbal communication with the horse. And somehow I figure out to get the horse to like really go. And like it's like one of the best feelings is to be doing that like together, like riding and like going through nature. It
was like exhilarating. It's like one of the best feelings I've ever had in my life. And the only thing I can think of that might be something that's like it is like skydiving and like doing something like that. And I feel like called a lot of times to like those kinds of experiences and what it feels like. And like, especially the parameters that those things can be played with. Like different forms of like art, like that you can make from like the experience of falling. And like the thermal, it's not thermodynamics, it would be like dynamics of air, of like being able to move and maneuver and like almost like doing yoga in the air. Like that stuff. It's like aerial, or like I don't even know what it would be called. But it's
yeah. Oh, it's aerial, all right. Yeah.
I would do all those things, and I just like part of me lights up. And sometimes I can't like, I can only dissociate from the wanting for so long.
Well, the wanting, especially those kinds of experiences, you know, are a massive dopamine release. So it's like really what you're seeking is the dopamine release, but we're using the skydiving or running with horses, and that's what
it leads to like eating, man, like eating. So I can't skydive right now. So I'm gonna dive into all this candy or this or that. And it's escapism and dopamine rushes, scrolling. There's so many, like we can Google like research. I hate that I market them all the time. I'm always saying like this instead of researching. Like, isn't it so
it's like this amazing resource we have that with the world's knowledge at our fingertips. Well, it doesn't do you any good if you watch cat videos all day, you know, and you know.
Yes, however, there's also like total benefits of allowing your brain waves to go into state of happiness. Like if some little kid's being abused, and then he has access to watching a cat video so you can dissociate from his life. However, at the same time, I feel like we have to be able to teach the verbal communication about how to talk about these things so that kids can talk about these things, like so that they feel safe to bring up to be like, hey, this person is giving me too much attention, or I don't feel comfortable, or like there's gentle ways of like expressing like I'm called to this, I'm interested or curious, teaching them like just how to talk about.
I mentor a small child and he actually felt comfortable enough to share his dreams with me, and I was like, that's cool. So he said he's had dreams, and the dream has come true 2 days later, and I was like, hold on to that, we lose it as we get older. It's amazing, thank you for sharing, you know. And these things that we experienced as children that we deny in our adulthood, that were true. It's absolutely true. It certainly happened to me. I mean, I don't know that any of us can, well, we can say it, but is it true that none of us had a dream and had it happen a few days later? It's probably happened to all of us, but we're in denial. How do we hold on to that as adults? How do we get out of our own way and get back to these things that are important? Because what is important is the now. This is it. This is all we got. There's no past.
Go ahead.
Huh? There's no past. The past is gone, and the future doesn't exist. And I'm only repeating this, you know, to teach, you know, so I remind myself that
yeah.
I'm only saying this to remind myself that this is it. This is all there is. It's right now. This is it.
Dude, so like it's a little activating to hear you say that, because I stumbled upon this thought recently that was like, we're complaining about how all the things of the past don't exist anymore. And because of it, a lot of times we're not paying attention to what's here. And there's a need to pay attention to what's here. If we don't want what's here to turn into what's no longer here, like the things of the past, then we have to like engineer and be mindful that we love and we care and this is dear to us, and expressing the truth and like living it out instead of like repressing and hiding the truth and the nature and the secrets and the shame and the aggravation. It's just like part of the human nature and condition. The gift of like exposure, of like calling it out, right? Like if someone has a negative thought that's not true, like I'm scared to go outside because of this, this, and this. And then like if that thought was to be exposed to an open field of nature, there could be like multiple wavelengths of feedback and heart resonances that would just have the opposite coherence and be like, no way, this place is beautiful. I love to get in my car and drive across the world and go sleep on different lands all over the universe and notice the different temperatures and and pressure gauges and the different forms of, you know, the expression of human, I guess like upbringing, if you're like living in the moment, constantly growing up. But I think that each person's also going to have like different desires. And the way that I think about it sometimes is that there's like 4 different skull types and like a bunch of different blood types. And the skull types always fascinates me.
Skull type, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, different skull types, SKULL. I think there's 4 skull types. And then there's like 4 blood types, or I can't remember, but there's like all these different like codes and like lining up. And might be more. I have studying to do. Clearly, I'm no like doctorate or scientist yet or anything, you know. So, but I don't know. I find that stuff kind of fascinating. But again, like it's like this restlessness in the mind, attempting to like solve and navigate and like be the creator and the role player. But at the same time, I also can't help but feel the call, like my personal ability to respond, like how I personally can do things that I believe in, like planting seeds or like thinking about the next crop instead of just living only for today, and at times living just for today, like saying what's here now, like I'm sorry and I love you, please forgive me, I care about you, Ho'oponopono, thank you, like all the things that are here now, like getting it off our chest and being transparent. Like for example, if we say like before I die I want to do this, this, and this, like there's probably like 3 things on that list that I could do right now. Like if one of them's call my mom, then it's like, oh my God, I'm gonna call my mom right now and say, hey dude, what's going on? I really don't want it to end like this. Like, can we talk? Like, let's talk about this. This is coming up right now. I want to trust you again. Can we go for a walk? Like, I don't know. Like for you, right? Like, but I'm just teasing. But like, I also imagine, to what level is that true? Because there might be a story that I tell myself, like, I don't want to pass before I swim with sharks, or like, really, let's make up something like that. And maybe like that's not really the most important thing as much as it is like, when I am no longer here, that I want to be remembered for this, or like some kind of an intentional thing.
Well, like getting through with a shark, it's not really what the sharks are seeking for the feeling.
What?
You're seeking a feeling.
Seeking a what?
Feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, see?
It's an imagined feeling. Imagine
Yeah.
it's not even accurate if I call this person that the experience is going to be what I'm saying it is. And then because of that expectation, it leads to a feeling of misery and unhappiness and not good chemicals, because all of my energy is put into producing this negative outcome chemical in my brain and body that comes from when I am using all of this machine on that, you know. And like it can get actually. Go ahead.
Feeling right here and now.
Saying having that feeling right now.
How do we experience that feeling here and now? The experience of love, experience of, you know, swimming with the sharks, experience of jumping out of an airplane, and it's really is what we're seeking is the emotion, and that's why I'm, you know, trying to just live in the satisfaction of the now, satisfaction. And, you know, it's like, I don't need anything really. I mean, I'm satisfied at the moment. I'm fed for the day. You know, I had enough liquid for the day. I'm comfortable. Why can't I have a good feeling right now? So, satisfaction.
Maybe it's there on the other side of the feeling that's there. Like when you actually ask that question, you say, okay, what's stopping me from feeling that? And then you really meet that and like identify and name it and call it into the light and let it be shined upon and be like, hey, and like maybe give me a name. Sometimes it helps to like have a picture, and then you can assign the picture with that of what's standing in your way. And then it can help formulate the words of like, I'm holding myself back, or I'm silencing myself, and like really tapping into like the next step. And so if it is you're silencing yourself, what would be the opposite of that? You would have to like let it all out. And then once you let it all out, then maybe you'd be allowed and feel safe to go be happy right now, because now that other thing that's stopping you isn't there anymore, because I walked through it. I went went down that rabbit hole. You know, I met that face of myself that just I kept running from, and identify with it, associate with it, let it speak, and then now it's integrated. It's you know, it's no longer part of me, but it's no longer here, or something like that.
I don't have anything to add to that, girl. I mean, integrating the here and now, yes.
Yeah, but the uncomfortable part is like we don't want to. It almost feels like I don't want to like project. So maybe I shouldn't say we, but it's like sometimes that feeling of like not wanting to be here now. Like, oh my God, I remember this past scenario. Oh, I can't wait to wear that dress again. I can't wait to eat that kind of food again. I can't wait to see this person. I can't wait to have this feeling again, what it feels like when I hold someone's hand. I can't wait to be around roses. I can't wait to be in the water. Like that constant grasping and constant, yeah, the same thing I was talking about before.
Well, that's the constant wanting for immediate gratification as well. And, you know, you can be in this moment and be satisfied without those things. And I think that's what's really come up important to me. And it's like being satisfied without those things. You're going to get the goodie. You're going to get the shiny bauble that's going to make you happy. And
dude, something that you made me think of is like on the flip side, how like sometimes like if, like let's say Dwayne finds out that he really likes this, right, or that, and that like whenever you see that, you know, like, oh, I really like that, and like and it can be a majority type of things that you're like, oh my God, I have to have this. Like if you have a blank canvas and you get to write or draw certain pictures of like what goes there, like that's a completely different feeling. And then like let me tell you, I'll try to put it into better words. It's like when we are able to know like what that looks like let's say someone knows she absolutely loves flowers, or he absolutely knows that he loves this kind of woman, or he loves this, you know, that know what it looks like, and then notice how much of what we think we love and how much around us represents that. Like, are we afraid of love? Like, do we have love in the room with us, or do we purposely not buy the thing that makes me feel the loving feelings? Like, oh my God, I love having this in the room with me. Like, I love hearing this. I love seeing this, you know? And like, sometimes it helps to know you, and like, it's almost like God knows us. And so we're kind of gifted those things in our experience. And then sometimes we subconsciously turn down the goods and we seek something else, you know? And for some people, like God's favor, or they ask for a different thing. Like, I want a good death, or I want this instead of this.
Well, every time you back to that first voice, that first feeling, you know, that I should or should not do this thing. That first feeling you have, that's where quote unquote God's talking. You know, that's the getting out of your own way. Even something simple like, I don't know, weed in the driveway. I wanted to, like, my first thought was to go, I'm going to go start at that end. And then, no, I'm going to go start at this end, and actually stop myself. I started going towards this end, and I actually stopped myself and went back to my first voice. So it was like, I consciously took the time to listen to that first voice. You know, obviously better thing to be doing right away, but at least I was,
I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of bouncing around on a project, doing multiple different jobs instead of like line work, you know? Like it's like it makes you feel more creative to do things in increments. But yeah, it is a discipline. It is a medicine within itself to be able to function in those kinds of you know, like wavelengths in order to like produce and to move in that way.
You've decided you want to move that.
Yeah, like commit to that kind of lifestyle or something like that. Yeah.
It's a choice. that's what you wanted, and that's what you did.
Well, there's a lot of looking at what's standing in your way, like without shaming yourself, you know, just being like, hey, I'm not living that life because of this, and this is what has to go first. And then like really negotiating with yourself and playing out those different parts until it just lines up and feels good and like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you have to negotiate with yourself, because it's like, even the things that I know are good for me that I don't do, you know, I have to talk to myself, talk to myself, you know, bring up the goods and the bads, and it's like why this is good for you, and you know it's good for you. You know it's a better choice to go exercise than not. You know the choice is there, but you have to like convince yourself that it's like, oh, it's going to be better than the alternative, you know.
Yeah, well, sometimes when we're in the addiction and the movement of habits, like I fail to remember the other side. Like I'm just looking to get that need met, and so I'm exercising the way in the past I've done it. And sometimes it could be so automatic that it's like I've been sleeping, and it's like, oh my God, suddenly I'm awake from the dream, and here I am. I'm doing this thing. How did I get here? Oh, I did that thing I said I wasn't going to do again, you know? But it's like almost, it's not even being like intoxicated as much as like a real human experience where you just like forget. Like you forget this oath you made to yourself. I'm not going to eat like that anymore. I'm not going to allow myself to be in these positions anymore. One of the best examples I can think of is I remember being a kid and like not being able to drive and like needing other people to like leave. Like if I go somewhere with someone, that I would have to wait and could not go home and would end up in situations that it's like, oh my God, I wish I could just go home right now, but because they want to stay, how do I verbally and, you know, the physical skills of getting home, and like that little kid mentality of like, how do I navigate through the world and experiencing power in that level, you know?
Definitely. That's part of my trust issue. That it's like, even riding with someone else, like riding somewhere with them, and then it's like you're dependent on them. Yeah, that's a trust issue there. It's like, that's definitely one I have. It's like, yeah, I'll drive myself, thanks. You know, to be without your own car, that's very triggering for me, because you're trusting, you're gonna trust the other person to bring you back. That's a lot.
Well, it also made me grow up not knowing the value of having my own vehicle fully. Like once I was able to drive, like it was like a game changer for my mind. Like I was afraid of it for so long and what it meant and what, like imagining what I needed to have in order to have it. And like, it was nothing like I imagined it to be. Like all the fear was for nothing. It ended up being like one of the best things I've ever done.
Yeah. So that would be all the fear I have wrapped around relationship right now. So yeah, right. Best thing I ever done was to be in one of those and not needing it, because I certainly don't need a relationship. I've certainly proven that I can, you know, I can be alone. Certainly proven that, but.
Bro, imagine the relationship being a vehicle. Like imagine a vehicle and then you hop into it and it represents like being in a relationship. And then like, see if you can find a vehicle that you feel safe to like live out the 10 kids, and you know exactly what land you want to live, and you know how it, like, you know, the whole story backwards kind of thing. Like, see if that's really the map. Like, is that really what you want? Or is that just the absolute opposite of what you imagine you've had? And then like, what is,
well, that's the fear too.
what do you really choose? Like, what do you really choose? Like, do you actually have resistance to that and you never want it and it's ungettable? Or is it that that's your calling and it's already here now kind of thing, and it's just a matter of allowing it?
Well, that's the fear. It's like, what if you get what you wanted? And then you
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That sucks.
Fear of success. Yes. That's not a very common topic that needs to be a common topic either. Yeah.
Oh no, that's the thing. Because it's like, I've heard it explained to where it's like you have a thermostat on your life. Your brain has a thermostat of what it can tolerate. It's like, I can only tolerate this much goodness in my life, and I can only tolerate this much badness in my life, and I stay in between those good things and those bad things. And then if something really beautiful comes along, oh, that's too good. We have to bring that back. We have to reel that in because I'm not comfortable with that much good happening in my life. So we are hard to change. How about that? I don't know how.
What becomes sometimes a cognitive distortion, like black and white thinking, that we're like not looking at all like the degrees in between. And like, again, like letting each part talk, like stepping into and be like, okay, I'm afraid of commitment because I'm afraid I'm going to become so enmeshed and lose my personal identity. Or I'll be afraid I won't be allowed to have my total expression because I won't have enough space because there'll be two people in the space. It could be any kind of like limiting belief, but it's important to hear that limitation, like to hear the truth. Like, I really feel and believe this, like maybe I'm unlovable. And because I'm unlovable, I can't have anyone near me and I'm scared. And like letting that part that says I'm unlovable and says, okay, why are you unlovable? And you'd be like, I throw tantrums, I'm bratty, I'm demanding. or like listening to it, like really talking to your personal gremlin or your little monster, or the person that is telling you, no, I'm not having a relationship and I'm scared of relationships and this is what you need to believe about relationships. But then your other character's like, no, dude, I really, really want to have a life with this dudette over here. And I want it to be like X, Y, and Z. And we need to hear from you. Why are you saying no? Like, we need you to step aside or let's coexist. And like, there are things that character will say. It says, okay, then I need to know an agreement that I won't be left. That's a loud one for you. It's like, you want a life mate, like you want to have like a feeling. It's not just having the person. It's not just having the person. You want to have the feeling that the person's not going to leave, right? And that needs to express itself in other ways. Like maybe you're craving and calling in someone who you're like, man, I just can't shake this person. Like this person keeps approaching me. And that's like the opposite for you to feel, like the most extreme part of that, right? Of feeling like, oh my God, this is unleavable. But you also like have this other level where you have a boundary. You're like, no, I want this much, like this much, this much holding, this much feeling like you're not going to go.
You were talking about having too much good that person keeps coming back. And it's like, oh, what do you want? And it's like, you know, it's like for me, it would be like, what do you want? Why do you?
Okay, but then letting that character talk, like, why is it saying, what do you want? What does it know about itself that it thinks that it's going to scare the other person, or that the other person is going to try to get out of them and stuff like that?
The other person is going to try and hurt me or get something out of me. And yeah, that's the fear. The fear coming back. It's all fear. The only fear we have is only fear we're born with is the fear of falling and the fear of loud sounds. All of our other fears are all created. And the only place fear exists is in here.
Well, part of me doesn't like some of those teachings because fear is also a gift from our body to like tell us a signal like when something's going wrong. So I don't, also do become programmed to relive that stimulus. Like, for example, if you were allowed to yourself to feel the complete feeling of like women aren't safe and I'm not safe here, and you were to like really feel the intense fear and like feel the exact emotion again, like would the feeling change over time because it was like researching and studying that emotion that much, like really in it instead of running from it? And then like it might change a flavor. It might be like, okay, I've integrated, I've expressed this enough, and now I'm ready to be held after all that happened. And like I need to use this boo-boo, and this boo-boo has to be tended in this way. And if it can't be tended that way, I choose this way. And then like, you know, like naming it, figuring it out, and coming up in like practical ways on how can I get this out and how can I be in the opposite? Because what would the opposite be? Is like, I'm safe and I'm lovable and she's going to treat me good and I can expect them to give instead of taking. And what they take from me, I want to give her anyway. You know, like that.
It's interesting because that's even a trust to ask for what you want. That's a trust.
Or what you're asking for is what's best for you.
When that and it comes back to loving yourself. And I think everything comes back to, I think a lot of it comes back to loving yourself. And it's like, if you love yourself.
I'm sorry, like, call out this, dude. Like, what does loving someone look like? Like, does loving you mean correcting you when you're wrong? So are you correcting yourself when you're wrong? So like some people believe that loving themselves is denying themselves pleasure or not allowing themselves to be free or do this or that. Like they put a limitation on it. So like that can really like mess things up. So sometimes it has to be more described, like what loving yourself really means. Like it means like nurturing, I guess, or like it's hard to do that words.
Love is so twisted in a lot of us that it's like we don't really know what love is because our parents didn't teach us what love is. And you know, love is a feeling, and love is, you know, trust, and love is care, and love is empathy, and love is I don't know, what is love? That's, you know, it's like, because my lessons were with love were wrong, were twisted and broken. And we have to.
And is there a willingness to see it differently, or is there another framework that you can see the other side of it?
We have to create our own meaning of it. So it's interesting how you say, you know, what is love and how are you going to feel that? Because yeah, it's a good question.
Well, yeah, if you're thinking that love is critical, love is judgmental, love is forcing you, you know, that you're going to think that all those things, not allowing a no or your own answer, you know, like that, you're not going to listen to your body's no's, you're going to do things against your own body. Like that's not loving, right? But maybe they think that that's loving. Crossing my own boundaries is love. Taking care of other people is love. Perhaps they're just not, they don't know what love is, or they think that they do. So it makes existing very complex because it isn't like really talked about, like how am I mapping myself? You know, what's the story I'm telling about myself? And like what limiting pattern am I choosing to keep expressing in this life? What am I asking for? What am I thinking about all the time? A lot of times the things that we're thinking about, like it's not our own thought, like a suggestion from the outside stimulus, right? Like constant suggested ideas, marketed all these different viewpoints and ways of existing. When like meditation, or you know, like that quote you were saying by Nikola Tesla. So yeah.
So I have to be honest that, and listen to myself, that I'm fading because I'm tired, because it's late for me, and
Yeah.
I'm not bringing my best self to the conversation right now. That's what I'm realizing.
You're realizing what?
I'm not bringing my best self to the conversation.
Oh, right on. Yeah, I can relate to that too. We can always do another episode or come back another time. I'm glad to have had you here. I'm glad to like finally introduce you and to share some of these thoughts and these concepts. And I'm looking forward to definitely infinite more.
I really enjoyed our conversation, by the way, and it's like I can hear the growth in you, and it's beautiful from this side. And it's like you might not be able to see your growth, but it's actually been a while since you and I have just sat down and talked, and I can certainly see your growth.
Thank you.
And the beauty for me is I've actually got to see my own growth here recently. That I had to go to an interview process to mentor this young child, and then it's been 3 years. It was 3 years later, and they're like, well, do you want to do it again? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And like, well, it's been 3 years, you need to come back in and re-interview. And I'm like, okay. Well, the interview process was quite extensive. They're not playing. They want to make sure they don't get some psychopath or, you know,
Oh, of course,
or a pedophile in there. And the second interview was the same exact interview as before, quite extensive, same words, same questions. That's, you know, their stock interview, and it was so easy. I was like, oh, this is cool. I actually got to see my own growth, and that was a beautiful thing to be able to see your own growth. And so that comes back to, I don't know if you can see your own right now, but it's like I can see it. And it's significant, it's substantial.
That's really sweet to hear. I mean, it made me instantly like want to not take you serious and make a joke how I've been there's a wrestling joke to be had, but
You were
I don't know if I can deliver it. I'm kind of I don't know. It's hard to remember the joke. But in the moment it was like, oh my God, and I had to like really refrain myself. Oh, I got it to get it. It's not meant to be disrespectful, but it was totally like a really bad joke. But it's like that I've been paying my dues. I've been like really paying my dues and like you know, falling on my face and getting back up and taking chops and getting hit and just getting back up again and again and again. It's just it is what it is.
getting hit in the face and getting back up. So it's like even the days where, and it's been less and less and less and less now, that even the days where I'm having a quote unquote bad day to where I'm depressed or I don't want to do that thing. And it's like I find myself in the habit now of I still exercise. I still eat good food. I still write. I still go learn something. Even on those bad days, I still pick up the guitar. And even though, you know, it's like I'm not any good at it, but I still do these things, even though sometimes, although rare lately, that it's like I fall back into the pattern of depression. And I think the one thing I need to change for sure is I just need to start planning my days more. And that doesn't mean adding more to it. It's just waking up and not have to think about what you're supposed to do. Because
like building a schedule that like from this time to this time you meditate and this time you eat your food, or like really mapping out your day, like legitimately. Like
throughout the day. And not only that, but mapping out like I clean. Today I clean. Today I have, and then there's a window of nothing, right? Put a window of nothing, go sit on the couch, whatever.
I love how you've mentioned that a few times and like encourage that refuge of people like really giving themselves permission to like rest and like, yeah. And like, dude, I also wanted to shout this when you were talking, like you said that you're eating good and you're drinking like water and things like this, right? And part of me was like, I wanted to be like, dude, that's a big deal. Like we really underestimate how something just that simple of eating like, you know, a plant-based diet or like maybe not plant-based as much as like eating like something that's made by God, I would joke with too, like eating carrots or salad or onions or fiber or, you know, stuff like that. Like how much that directly changes our brain. Like if we're eating walnuts or broccoli and eating and drinking enough water, like how much that changes our sleep patterns. Like I thought that was just like maddening, like in itself, like to watch like how like you'll think differently if you eat a bunch of sugar, right? Or you'll like you're all messed up or like, or the same thing if I have too much coffee. I mean, there's little different ways that can be watched, but yeah.
I drink too much coffee, and yes, I eat meat, but it's grass-fed, organic, or wild caught. I don't eat factory farm meat.
You eat very intentionally.
Intentionally. Now, here two days this week. So 2 days this week, I was like away from the house, and it's like I ate hamburgers 2 days this week, and I love hamburgers, but they were not the hamburgers that I want. They were just factory farm meat that is with tortured animals. So where does that lead? Tortured animals.
You can pray for your food. You can pray over your food. I mean, it sounds like you're already kind of doing that. Like, oh man, I'm sorry you weren't taken care of in the right way. Like, I'm really hungry. Thank you so much for your sacrifice. Or I don't know. You'll have to like feel it out in your own path of what that feels like. But I feel you on that. But that also gives you an excuse to go ahead and just get the meat you really want. Man, cheeseburgers definitely sound super duper great. I've definitely been, you'd say, playing that game of life of learning how I choose to feed myself and take care of myself and water intake and just like doing all the right things. And then watching in my own experience how like my hormones and how everything gets like, you know, either in harmony or corrupt, depending on which way do I go? Do I eat a lot of cheese and a lot of junk and a lot of bread, or am I over here at this house with delicacies of sugar indulgences or sense gratification? And it's like it's a job sometimes to not give in to those like addictions for like the dopamine, you know.
especially eating good, because I make my own food, and it's like, it takes time. It takes time.
It takes so much time to put that love and that intention into the self to like prep something. It's like one of the best meditations. I definitely love prepping food and like really intentionally making a thing. And I also love like hand washing the dishes. That's kind of been like my therapy for me. It's been very, very, it's like a discipline, I had a conversation with Brian one time, and Brian was like telling me this old story. I don't know if he even remembers telling me, but he's like, there's this young boy, and he wants to like, become enlightened, and he ends up going up into the mountains. And when they get there, they just make him like eat and wash the dishes. And he's like, well, when is this thing going to happen? It's like expecting of what enlightenment looks like and things like this. But it's like the moral of the story is kind of like first comes the dishes, then comes enlightenment, and then comes the dishes, or like the dishes. And it's like still there amongst the lightened heart and lightened mind of looking at things instead of clenching the grasp. Yeah, I always thought that was really cute. And I can't help but feel like hungry almost for that stuff. Like there are times where I will fast, and I'm totally okay with not eating and not consuming stimulus in exchange for like almost like a greater hunger for something like almost like more spiritual or knowledge, or like I'm even falling short in seeking or the striving thing. And from a story of like, oh, I need to learn something and I'll be more valuable if I learn something new, or like in order to be lovable that I have to do this.
Well, and there's another one that's just the same thing, and it's like, before enlightenment, chop wood and carry water, and after enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. And that used to really piss me off. That would piss me off. And now I'm to the point, well, because it's triggering, because it was triggering to where it would make me angry, because then what's the point of doing all the work if all I'm going to be doing is the same thing I'm doing now?
Yeah, but there's a way of finding like the energy that I feel there, dude, is that like somehow I learned to be okay and content, and I'm happy to chop the wood. I'm happy I can do it. I'm happy I can walk. And that's a big job, right? Making that transition from being like having an attitude at it and saying like, I don't like doing this. This isn't who I am. And then like, again, like being able to, part of me like gets a little concerned that like it's like a global agenda almost to have these forms of consciousness of like just being indifferent to a lot of things. And that seems like that could also simultaneously be dangerous. It feels like that there needs to be empathy, there needs to be sympathy and like symbiotic relationships, as you're describing. Like it seems like it's almost like impossible to not live, or like impossible to live without them. So.
And then there's now. And now, what feeling do you want to have right now? And that's what. This is all there is. If you're watching this, this is all there is. There's no past and there's no future. This is now is the only thing we have. And it's now is the only thing we have. And how can we be satisfied in the now?
Yes. The energy that it feels is like renouncing, like let go of that thing that you say you need to be happy, and somehow just still be safe and at peace and feeling gratitude for what is here in this moment, because it's reality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's really interesting too, because it's such a process, right? We can map our own selves and look at ourselves where we've been in some really, really bad situations and postures and circumstances, and still here we are, and we maneuvered ourselves into a new position, and we can look back at that position of like, wow. And sometimes that place is here now, and then we have to daydream like, how do we get to the other side of this, and how do I choose to move ahead from this place?
You there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'll go ahead and I guess wrap up our call. I'll let you get some rest. I know it's like later there. It's like, is it 11:30 over there? No, it's 10.
It's only
10:30. Okay.
It's 10:30, but I've come to the you know, my issue lately has not been sleeping because of my work schedule. And now that I took a week off because I was actually physically sick, sore throat, runny nose thing.
Yes, sir.
I'm back on my schedule that my body wants to do, and my body wants to go to bed at 9 and get up at 6. That's what my body, or 5. That's what my body wants to do. And tomorrow night, I got to go to work. I'm going to be at work till midnight tomorrow.
Wow.
So I'm just not my best self. It's like my body.
Dude, I got a secret to tell you. If I was there right now, something that I took for granted is that you could like leave your house right now and you can go downtown to the beach and you can just go sit on the beach and just hear the waves and look at all the stars and you can just lay out there forever until the sun comes up.
Right now. Yep.
Yeah.
And
I don't have that right now, bro. I don't have that kind of life right now. Yeah, so I'm just calling out something that you have. So like if you find yourself and you can't sleep or you're in this circumstances, just remember you have that right there. Like you can run to the water right now and like be with the particular type of sand and the coquina. It's like you're in sacred lands.
Or are you from the beach? Or do you not like have the beach?
Yeah, I would joke that there is no beach. Like not like your beach, like the sand. It's hard to explain. Like there's like places that are kind of like your place out, like maybe about an hour away. Yeah, and I'm not certain. Yeah,
because it's cold over there.
Yeah, that's also happening right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you guys have like 80-degree weather over there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I was sweating. So yeah.
Yeah, you lucky. I know you guys are looking forward to those cold fronts though. Like I know how that city is.
Well, I was at drum circle last night with no shirt on, so yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
It's even warm at nighttime. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you have access to some things we can't do here. How about like your kava places you can go to, you know what I mean? Like you got things that aren't like that everywhere in the world, you know what I mean? You got a lot. That city offers a lot.
There's a lot of blessings here in this town, and when I thought about leaving after my divorce 5 years ago, I'm like, what am I thinking? Everybody's moving here, and it's like this place is really good. It really, and it's like for me, the truth of my feeling is that I don't have to go on vacation. I don't have to retire. I'm already on vacation. I put in my 40 and I play. I'm on right now. So yeah. I
think that your gratitude is like so helpful to your path. You have like you have such gratitude, and I feel like that there's some type of almost like a correlation to like your gratefulness to you also having like almost everything you want, you know what I mean?
And however, that it came through a lot of difficulty. That satisfaction and gratitude came from a life of depression and trauma and a lot of work.
That's like a huge step. Like, how do you even go from one spectrum to the other? You know what I mean?
Well, let's talk about that because I'm sure people are interested in that. People right now are in that depression, in that trauma, and they don't know how to get out of it. And I'm sorry, I'm going to start with nutrition. Change what you're putting in your body and start treating your body with respect. Start getting sleep. Start getting proper nutrition. Start exercising. And I think so much of, for me, was the movement modalities, not only the nutrition portion, but the movement modalities for me, that every time I learned a new movement or modality, which I'm speaking of, go learn yoga, go take Pilates, go start Qigong, go start dance. It brought up anger in me. Anger. every time. Anger. Every time I started one of these new learning, someone telling you what to do with my physical body would bring up anger.
Wow.
And I'm sure some past trauma trigger.
Yes. Oh, for sure. And you're not the only person who feels that, but the fact that you're even mapping and able to notice it, that's kind of a big deal. So like you just kept dancing and kept like working through the anger each time it came up, or what?
Just kept going back, and eventually I got through it, and luckily my teachers, kept me around, didn't kick me out. But yeah, that's my advice. People that are living in that depression and in that trauma right now, that there's a way out, and it starts with how you treat the only vehicle you have to carry you through this life, your physical body, and the only moment there is now. And it's what choice, because I have a lot of regret. Yes, I do have a lot of regret that I feel like I wasted my life.
Wow.
And, there's nothing you can do about that. Nothing I can do about that. The only thing I can do is what's right now. And right now I choose to do the thing, whatever the thing is that's going to make me better and feel better in this moment. Because there's nothing we can do about the past. It's gone. So,
Yes.
See your growth.
I don't know, like that. It made me kind of just think about a couple other different things, but again, it can be challenging to kind of put it into words. It's something like being able to change the framework of like saying like those things that you regret. Is there a way that we could reshape them so that we're not regretting them, but instead that they were like almost instruments to help us in something, like they were a tool and not meant to be like a weapon against us. It was like vital part of the teaching or something like that, that we can have framework of appreciation even for that, instead of like being upset and feeling the regret emotion, that somehow we could be like, nah, this is what I needed for the next 50 years or whatever,
And maybe I said regret in a term that made it sound like I'm feeling it now. But not now, but I have lived with a lot of regret in the past and came to terms with it. And the way I came to terms with it is nothing I can do about it. Only I can do about it is what's in front of me right now. That's it. Yeah.
Well, I like to think that like I can change my attitude about it. That like I don't have to be looking at it, like for example, I can look at my stuff as like I'm a victim, or if I'm like a survivor or like a hero of my own story and stuff like that, and that I can change that way. I can't change the past, and I can take what I'm doing with the information and change that. Like if I'm using this past experience to measure my courage or measure a truth about my personality and the identity of who I am, that like I can like reapply the knowledge and like reshape it in my consciousness. Like maybe I'm upset that someone didn't meet my expectation. So instead of them changing as a person, that I can change the desire or expectation for them to be different than what expressed itself in that past moment. Like maybe I wanted the relationship to go a certain way, or maybe I had expected to be treated a certain way. And then maybe because of that expectation, when you are treated the opposite way, it's like a shock. Like you're like, oh my God, I didn't even know people could treat other people like that. And like the naivety and like not knowing better. And then that can be really activating and make you just want to avoid human interactions, because you're looking at it through the lenses of all those past experiences, instead of being able to see the person and the moment as the moment. And instead, subconsciously, I'm trying to recreate that moment so I can hijack the nervous system and have a different automatic response, right? So that it ends differently and it doesn't go that way that you had before. It can be a generational thing, like a generational expression of, let's say we take bread. That's what we do. Or or we eat bread, or we drink. We're a family who smokes together. We're a family who prays together. It could be certain things that are inherited. I like to also think, like, whenever you're talking about like what we put in our body, my brain likes to think about like, what images am I suggesting to my brain? What am I thinking about? How am I speaking about myself and over myself and to other people? What's the tone of that? And that's being fed to me. I'm like experiencing it multiple times. And like, because I'm focused on that, I'm reliving that, right? Like if I'm constantly reliving the fear of abandonment, or I'm afraid that people are going to hurt me, I'm experiencing that hurt that those people did to me over and over again. And I'm not even here now. And I'm doing it. I'm sorry, dude. I had to add water. I was like, the tone was getting low. It was driving me bonkers. But go ahead. I'll try to hear you. Go ahead.
What you just said about what you're feeding your mind, and it's like, it's not just nutrition of what you're putting in your mouth, but it's what you're learning and what you're listening to.
Dude, it's like, also the environment. I get so activated in that too, because like, imagine if the room is like a scary room, or if it's painted a certain color and that color means this or that to us. Like we have to be in sacred spaces or wombs or containers that are nurturing to us. Oh, let's rephrase that. Not nurturing to us, but it's like a place where I can thrive, not just survive, but I can thrive.
Right.
Yes, sir.
You know, those people that in a place where their torturer is right outside the door.
Can you try that one more time? Are you saying wolves outside the door, or what are you saying?
If the torturer, if someone's living in trauma right now and the torturer is outside the door and ready to come in for you, and it's like, whew, it's really hard to get into the proper mindset in that space. But you're in between times, you can, the nutrition's not just what you put in your mouth, but what you put in your eyes and what you put in your ears. And if you're listening to, especially like negative music, that can have a negative effect. You can switch up your music to like that. What is that silly song? I'm happy. Oh,
Bro,
I'm
it's
happy.
like it's activating to hear you say that, because it's like things that are touching us. Because it doesn't have to be like a physical touch, but it's like I watch this and it makes me feel this way, so it touches me in that way. So it'd be like watching a scary movie or this or that, and then again putting all of our neurochemicals in our entire body, and our body can't tell the difference that it's just a dream or a movie. And we're having sometimes the things, and sometimes we're desensitizing ourselves because we're experiencing ourselves in that hyper stimulus, you know, which sometimes can be an artificial stimulus.
Well, because the brain is just, the brain is in a container, and it only experiences the world through electrical stimulation, and it doesn't know if it's a movie or an actual experience. It doesn't know. It only knows what information is coming in because it's in a dark, closed.
Yeah. Another thought that when you say dark abode, all I can think of is like how, like, without the blank canvas, without like the void of the universe, like there's no space for something to exist. Like the void is like one of the most important, intricate parts of the web, like having the blank space.
Right. So if you don't make the space, then nothing can come in to fill it. Okay. Okay. Yeah. It makes sense.
They also say if the student is ready, the teacher will present itself. So it's like the student finally has an opening. It's like, I want to know.
Well, and speaking of that, so when you change, what you look at changes. So even if that teacher came to you in the past, you would not know the teachings because you would not be ready for the learning. So when you change, what you look at changes. So when you change, then you're like, oh, you're a teacher and you have something I would like to learn. And months ago or 2 weeks ago, you wouldn't have wanted to learn that because you're not the person you're ready. When you're ready, the teacher appears. Yes. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. Yeah.
I feel the energy too of like the free will, right? Like we could see someone, like for example, someone could see you, how you're living your life and what you're doing.
And then they could think like, I really wanna live like that, you know? So like you would be a teacher just by living your life as it is. And like if you weren't living in that way, people wouldn't be able to see the opportunity to say, hey, can you teach me how I can eat healthy? Can you teach me how I can speak nice words to myself? Can you teach me how I can believe in myself? You know, or like things like that. And sometimes we don't even know that we're missing that. Like we don't know that we're missing the belief in ourselves. Like we dissociate and we ignore that part. And then when other people believe in us, we might either push them away, dissociate from them, and like how we're loving ourselves. That's the only kind of love that we're going to let in. We're not going to let people know us. Even if that's like the most loving thing we can do is to know someone and to like be there for them, even as they are completely different, especially being for them in the ways that they want us to be there for them, you know?
Yeah. I faded out again.
It's okay. I also started to think about like how sometimes you might want to fulfill the role that someone wants to have for you. Like let's say someone needs a teacher and you're like, yeah, I would love to teach people how to listen to their intuition or whatever thing that you're inspired to teach. Yeah.
But as stated before, my mind can like ask infinite questions forever and ever, and happy to like also give ideas. The monkey mind.
I've actually come to the point of satisfaction to where obviously we all have more to learn, but I think I've come to the point where it's like I've learned enough right now. I just need to enjoy now. I've learned enough.
And what's in the way? Is it like, are you giving critique? I mean, like, what's the block?
No, I mean, for me, I'm just saying for me that.
No, and I'm asking for you, what do you need right now? Like, is there a criticism that is naming that the now position is bad? Or like, is something actually not in the room? Is something not felt and identified with? Like, what is the inhabitant that's not allowing now to be the best moment of your life? Is it lack of resources? Like you didn't rest enough? Or that you're hungry? Or is it like, are you hungry for something else? You know?
I'm actually satisfied in this moment, that I don't need anything right now. I think I'm actually satisfied.
Maybe that could be a meditation in itself, that you just like allow yourself to feel that satisfaction for a minute, because a second ago you were saying, how can I be happy now? Like you're focused on that question, but then when you noticed, you were like, oh, wait a minute, I'm very satisfied right now. I am santosha, I am complete.
I was hoping to present that to someone that may be a seeker. No, I wasn't referring that to me.
You never feel that anymore, ever?
Oh no, of course I do. Yeah.
Okay, cause like I feel like sometimes those things will never go away, but maybe I'll meet an elder one day who like says that they learned the way, or
No. It comes. No, it's definitely, it comes back in waves. It comes back in waves. Yeah.
My sacred friend Dwayne, I'm gonna end the live stream. I want to thank you for showing up, and everyone sees your name there, so they can find you on Facebook if they want to talk to you, or if you want to talk to them in the comments. I'll make sure that you have access to this, so that way you can respond if someone's addressing you personally. And yeah, it's been very nice having you on here. I've been wanting to have you on here for like a long time, so I imagine like I might remember some things that I originally like kept thinking, hey, I want to have him on here for this and this and this and this. Now I'm just happy to have finally done it, and we'll have you back another time for sure.
Cool, love you.
Yes, I love you too. Have a good night.